Greetings, super friends, and welcome to a very, very special student success story. You guys, in a few moments, you are going to meet Danielle. Danielle is another one of our masterclass students, and she has an incredible story to tell of success and implementation in what she did with the SuperLearner program. But what's different about Danielle's story is that this wasn't always a runaway easy success for her. In fact, like many students, Danielle tried to start out with the course and found that life just got in the way. Her process and progress of going through the course and returning to it, utilizing some of the tools that we've recently made available to students, is a valuable insight for anyone hoping to accomplish what she has. And so, without any further ado, I'm pleased to introduce you to our masterclass student, Danielle. Danielle, welcome. It is such a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for making the time.
No problem at all.
So I'm really excited to meet you, I have to say, because Brandon was flipping through our student survey responses, as he does, and was blown away by some of the things that you said. I want to get to all of that, but I want to backpedal a little bit and ask you a little bit about why you decided to take the SuperLearner course. What were the goals that you set out for yourself?
So the first time I kind of came across it was actually an ad on Instagram when you did your free webinar. So I joined that, and I think about 10 minutes in, I'd already decided I was going to buy it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love reading. I love learning.
I see that.
Particularly at the moment, I just came back from Thailand, actually. I was doing my yoga teacher training. So I've just qualified as a yoga teacher. We had tons of pre-reading to do. One of them was a huge anatomy book, learning all the muscles, all the bones, all that sort of thing. So it was so useful for that, learning Sanskrit names. So I was kind of teaching the other trainees my little tricks of the trade.
That's super awesome.
Thanks. And now that I've qualified, I'm looking to kind of turn it into a business. So I've not quite got to the speed reading part of the course yet, because I had a full-time job. So that's kind of the next thing on the horizon.
Yeah, one of the secrets about the course that I tell anyone who asks, so it's not a very good secret, is that over the years, I've felt that speed reading is less and less the magic. And actually, as I've seen what students have done with the memory techniques, I've realized that that's the magic. And so tell me a little bit about that. I mean, as you said, you were able to memorize all these bones and different things like that. I think one thing that really stood out for our team looking into your success as a student was how much you're implementing in your life. Share with me a little bit about that and how all these methods have actually impacted your ability to memorize.
It's weird. It's like the more you do it, the more you realize you can apply it. I did it to memorize my bank details, my card details.
Awesome.
Even that game on your site is so hard. That 20-word generator, I could never do it. And then one day I played and made kind of like a little story to link the markers. Not only did I remember it, but 3 days later, I thought, I wonder if I can remember them again. And I just reeled off all 20 words just like that. And I was like, wow, it works. Amazing.
Right. And you had said in your check-in that you days later, I don't know if you remember this, if you didn't remember, but days later you still remembered those lists of words.
Yeah, absolutely. I just kind of recounted the story, just wrote them down, and they just came without even really trying that hard. So
really what we're realizing is I love how you're balancing, right, the exercises with real world stuff. I remember when you first registered for this course, it was because you were looking at this teacher training thing, and you saw it not as I think many students see it as a distraction, like, hey, I'm in school right now, I'm about to go to Thailand, I can't balance these two things. But you said, hey, I have an opportunity to apply this stuff in teacher training. And I think that's a large factor of why you succeeded so much with the memory techniques.
Absolutely. I mean, it's easy to get overwhelmed to begin with if you treat this as just another thing to do. And I'm that kind of person. I would have done that. But you say quite early on in the course that this is kind of to supplement your learning, not instead of and play. I don't do the games every day because I don't have time to, but I use it for my real life, and that makes it fun, and it shows me that it works, because it can get a bit frustrating just playing those games and over again, just staring at a screen. But if you're putting it into practice, in everyday life, you're also more likely to remember it because it's things that are important to you.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, you restarted the course. So at a certain point, you tapered off and then came back when you were more ready to go through the material. So tell me a bit about that, because we see that a
Yeah,
lot in our most successful students.
to be honest, the reason that I started again is because you sent out those emails about starting again and checking in every week, and that's what I needed because I had a full-time job. I was, people get busy. Everyone's so busy.
That they do.
Yeah, and I kept thinking about doing it. Like, oh, I mean to do that. I keep meaning to do that. And then that email came through. I thought that's a sign, and also that's really helpful because every week you'd be like, do this. I'd be like, okay. Sometimes I just need to be told what to do. But it was really helpful having that kind of check-in every week. Like, maybe you should be around here. Maybe you should be around here. And that's what made me stick to it this time around.
Right. I'm super glad to hear that, because that's exactly why we put those in there. And it is, everyone is different, but most people are one standard deviation from the mean. And what we realized is there is a small faction of people who would go through the course in 2 to 3 weeks. But in order to please those 5% of people who have that kind of time, we would be disenfranchising so many people like yourself by saying, okay, like, here's the buffet, go crazy. And what happens when we get to that big Las Vegas buffet? We all make ourselves sick and then never go back. And so I'm really glad that that's been your experience. That's exactly what we intended. Take me a little bit through your workflow. I mean, every week you kind of just wait for the email, check what needs to be accomplished in that week, and then set out and do it? Or is it something you come back to throughout the week?
It varies. So when I have a bit more time, it's more structured like that. That's kind of the ideal week. I kind of see what I should be working on, look through the tracker that's part of the materials, and work my way through that. And then if I have a bit more time, I'll play the games or I'll look at some of the bonus material. I found sometimes, like when I first restarted, I was almost trying to do too much, and then I felt a bit overstimulated and like couldn't shut my brain off. So I kind of calmed that down. So it's more of a guide now. I think I needed that, the kind of the weekly check-in, because it is adult learning and we need some degree of autonomy, but also you need some kind of structure to say, remember this, remember this, remember this. But then once you get into a routine, it's easier to customize it for your own life and then not need the prompts as much, if that makes sense. But I like to kind of, go back, do a bit here, do a bit there. And I'm not too married to the, what you're saying I should be doing, but it's super helpful.
If anything, over the years, I've pulled back and pulled back and pulled back on telling people, 10 to 15 minutes if you have time, because I'm learning as I go, right? And no one has ever built a course on learning and accelerated learning and mnemonics on this scale. So we have 150,000 people going through and saying, it actually worked a lot better for me when I tried it with my language learning homework. And so over time we adjust. And that's one of the things I love about my job is like, I am happy to be wrong and say, these games are actually not the best way. They're the second best way. The first best way is go out there and learn all the bones in the body at yoga training in Thailand.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. I want to ask you also, Danielle, about the Pygmalion effect, because I recall reading in your check-ins, which are another way, by the way, that we want to encourage people to have this weekly kind of Kaizen, slow, gradual, monitor their progress, self-compassion approach to learning that we have. I remember that Pygmalion effect was a big moment for you. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm constantly surrounded by people saying, oh, my memory's awful. I can't remember anything. I can't remember anything. And just like you said, I found that when I started deciding that I could recall things better, I didn't necessarily need the mnemonics or I hadn't applied markers to things, but I just start remembering more and more. And I just expected to remember things. And then I did. It was literally that simple. Whereas everyone else, I can't remember this, I'm bad at math, I can't do this, and then it's true. So that's been a big thing as well. I think in the beginning I thought, I need to make markers for absolutely everything, otherwise I won't remember anything. I'll never remember a name again in my life. Or I'll never remember a phone number again in my life. But I just thought, I probably will remember it, and then I did. So that's been really useful as well. Yeah.
That's kind of the secret of what we do is like, even if a student doesn't perfectly implement, the confidence that we give a student when we say like, you're in the best memory course money can buy. Oftentimes, we have this saying in Hebrew, the shoemaker goes barefoot. And sometimes I go barefoot and I'll forget to make a marker. specifically around numbers for me, like where
Yeah.
someone will tell me, oh, it's bus 572 to 348. And the marker will be the picture 572, right? And I'll still
Yeah.
remember it without converting it to Lokin or Lakin or whatever 572 would be.
Yeah.
And so, it is this magical thing where we can give people that instant effect and then give them the confidence, right? Not only to believe in their memory, but also to believe in their knowledge, and
Yeah, absolutely.
not preface their knowledge at all times. Like, well, yeah, I could be wrong, but it's like, no, I remember I read it.
No, absolutely. And it is that confidence. People will question me. I'm like, no, I'm absolutely right. I absolutely remember this. And then
That's awesome.
I do most of the time.
That is really, really awesome. So your next step, you're going to be starting a business around yoga teacher training.
Yeah,
Yoga
well,
training.
kind of a bit of everything. So I'm looking to start a YouTube channel, a
Very
blog,
cool.
start some workshops, retreats. I have lots of ideas, but it's really early days. I'm just going to kind of dip my toe in, teach
Very
some
cool.
classes, get used to it. But I'm quite
Very, very
lucky,
cool.
yeah, to have people around me doing kind of the same thing. So people who can help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be happy to wrap with you after this call. I'll be happy to share with you some thoughts and ideas.
That'd be
One other thing
amazing.
that I have here to discuss with you is pre-reading. So I understand pre-reading was another big one. You mentioned pre-reading in the term of pre-reading before a learning
Yeah.
experience, but also pre-reading before you read something.
Yeah.
Tell me a
So I
little bit
was
about how pre-reading worked for you.
pre-reading
Pre-reading
my
your pre-reading.
pre-reading. Yeah, I
Exactly.
was. We had 9 books I think we had to read, and it spanned
Wow.
everything from health to like philosophy of yoga,
Wow.
like personal development stuff. Yeah. So some of those books I love to read, but other ones it was just kind
Yeah.
of like looked at it and like, oh my god. But I just kind of did so I got to the pre-reading part of the course, didn't quite get to the speed reading, and I thought that's so clever, and I just kind of flicked through, see what was going on, be like, oh, I wonder what that's all about, and it kind of made me want to read it, which I think was the whole point.
That's exactly the point. It's that,
Yeah.
and also to do the foundations for the memory stuff, which is a kind of
Yeah.
behind the scenes. It's like, what's the internal and the external reason for it? The external reason that everyone should be immediately aware of is like, I really don't. I just had to read a contract for a
Yeah.
contest that we're doing, and I was like, I really don't like reading contracts. But there are 3 things that I think, I'm so smart. There are 3 things I think are going to appear in this contract, and as I'm reading it, I'm obviously looking for those 3 things to feed my ego, right?
Yeah.
And that's one way. That's a way that pre-reading works really well for me, is because I deal in memory. It's like, well, I've read a contract like this before. Let's see how smart I am.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, Danielle, I'm really excited to see what you do next. I know you're very busy because you're starting a business, so I want to be respectful of your time. The last question I want to ask you is,
Mhm.
for other students out there like you, what piece of advice or pieces of advice would you share with them so that they could emulate your level of success?
Don't stop using it. I think what you don't use, you lose. Don't get overwhelmed. I think if you treat this as like another thing on your to-do list, it's not going to be
Totally.
fun. Yeah, it's just going to be a chore, and you're either going to resent it or you're not going to do it. When really, it's supposed to better your life. So if you treat it like that and see it as more of a supplement rather than a thing you have
Yes.
to do, just
Yes.
yeah, little and often, I think, is probably the best advice.
I love that, and I'm totally going to borrow that from you, because that also was in my meditation practice a turning point for me when, and I'm
Mm.
sure you know more about meditation than I do, but
Not
a turning
necessarily.
point for me was when meditation no longer became, okay, I gotta check this one more thing off my box before I do this and that and the other, and it became, this is a means by which to be more successful at all the other things that I do
Yeah.
every single day. So I meditate, and then if I have a few extra minutes, I close my eyes, do a few deep breaths, and it just became a tool that it sits on top of all the other stuff that I have to
Yeah,
do. And it's a tool to make me better at all the other stuff. And suddenly my
absolutely.
total approach to meditation changed. It was no longer a chore, it was a advantage.
Exactly.
So awesome. Danielle, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to ask you to stay on the line because I want to wrap with you about the brand you're
Awesome.
building, and I want to hear all about it. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Wow, what an absolutely incredible transformation, right? I hope that you are as inspired as I am. Of course, I would love to make you our next student success story. So if you are interested in accelerating your learning, improving your memory, and becoming a faster reader, I want to invite you to go ahead and sign up for a completely free trial of our Become a SuperLearner Masterclass, which is the web's top-rated accelerated learning program. Also, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about this specific success story. Hope to see you guys in the free training seminar.